Yo, welcome to Philosopher's Stoned. It's been a while since I've done one of these regular formatted episodes that I was so used to doing. And really the reason was I needed some reading time. I needed to get more familiar with the topics that I plan to cover in the future. So it was a fucking knowledge break, okay? And it's not like I didn't stop doing anything. We still had the discussions. Just put one out on Friday with Boo Sevis. It was fucking long as shit. We went over a lot of stuff. And if you're not familiar with some of the stuff that we are covering in that one, you're not gonna get the episode at all. But fuck that. That's not what we're talking about right now. Tonight, we are diving back into my Gnosticism series that I started with one episode a while ago, where I am still explaining, I'm giving an introduction to Gnosticism. So, because most people don't know that there's a Gnostic religion, I guess you could say. Most people have no idea. They're like, oh, agnostic? No, not agnostic. Gnostic, bitch. Gnosis. Knowledge. Enlightenment. I'm going to pick back up kind of where I left off, but first, let's start this one off by stating exactly what we know as fact regarding the discovery of the Nag Hammadi library, also known as the Gnostic Gospels. If you look into Gnosticism at all, you're going to need to pick up a copy of the Nag Hammadi library and some translations as well, because it's dense shit. It's a little hard to understand. These ancient texts were found surprisingly not too long ago in 1945 in the Egyptian town of Nag Hammadi by a farmer named Muhammad al-Saman, who was digging around the area near the tombs from the 6th dynasty of Egypt. So he was either fucking doing a little, grave digging. Maybe he was a necromancer. Maybe he was gonna fucking raise one of these fucking 6th dynasty fucking kings of Egypt, pharaohs and shit. But that's just what I believe. I believe it was a simple grave robbery turned into a uncovering of the burial of books most likely regarded to early Christian as heretic texts or blasphemous material. That's my theory on why they were hidden for so long. Why they were buried in Egypt of all places. I've mentioned this before. I feel like the old ancient Egypt, there was a priesthood that probably still exists today who are keepers of some type of knowledge that is globally locked down. They don't want this stuff out. Some people might pay them not to have this stuff out. There's a lot of churches in the early days, specifically the Catholic Church, that probably knew that these priests had these texts and were like, yo, keep that shit hidden, please. Fucking bury it somewhere. I don't give a fuck. So these texts that were found are categorized in codexes, and there's like fucking over 40 texts. So it's a lot of shit to go through. There's a lot of books in Gnostic literature. The most commonly discussed or referenced or looked upon as Gnostic gospel is the Gospel of Thomas, the Gospel of Philip, the Apocryphon of John, or the Secret Book of John, and the Gospel of Truth. And there's literally so many more books that you could do a year's worth of episodes just on the Nag Hammadi library in its entirety, if you wanted to do that. If that's what you're interested in doing, I mean, I would love to hear it. I would listen to it. So before I start explaining the translations in my perception and subjective meanings of these texts, which will most likely be done in part 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 of the series once I get through the initial breakdown, I want to explain more on the notable names and words in the realm of Gnosis. So when you start looking into it, these words are going to pop up, and for me, I had to Look at Wikipedia and Merriam-Webster about what these words meant that I was reading. We already talked about Yaldi Baldi Yaldabaoth, the real god of this world, and his mother, the Eon Sophia. I know some of you will say, that's not his mom, that's his creator. Or whatever, same fucking thing. So let's go over some other eons, or the lesser gods of the divine. There's a list of eons that come from Valentinus, who probably is he's the best known Gnostic theologian, but I'm going to revisit Valentinus for a whole episode in this series. So let's go over some other eons, or the lesser gods of the divine. There's a list of eons that comes from Valentinus, probably the best known Gnostic theologian, but I'm going to revisit Valentinus for like a whole episode to explain his part in Gnosticism and his major relevance in it as a form of some type of what you could say religion. First, I'll tell you that the eons were created by God effortlessly, almost in pairs, like a male-female unison. That's how they were created. It was the male and the female, or the female, like the consort. A male had to have a female consort. That was a unit, a single eon. The faction of eons are often referred to as the Ogdoad. Not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. Ogdoad, Ogdoad. The first list here is Tertullians, and here it goes. First generation, Bythos and Sige. Second generation, Nous and Aletheia. Third generation, emanated from Nous and Aletheia, Sermo and Vita. Fourth generation, emanated from Sermo and Vita, Anthropos and Ecclesia. Fifth generation, emanated from Sermo and Vita as well, Bythios and Mixus, Aguratios and Henosis, Autophies and Hedoni, Asinitos and Syncrasis, Monogenes and Macaria. Fifth generation, part 2, emanated from Anthropos and Ecclesia, Paracletus and Pistis, Patricius and Elpis, Metricos and Agape, Aenos and Synesis, Ecclesiastasius. Man, these fucking names. Ecclesiasticus and Macarodius, Thaletus and Sophia. They couldn't have just picked some fucking goddamn 1-2 syllable names that are just fucking easy. I mean, I should have made a disclaimer before I did that I don't know how to pronounce 90% of these names from it. I mean, they sound like Greek or Roman or some shit. So after I just butchered that list of names, there's definitely no way I'm going to go over this other list of names of eons by Ptolemy and color basis, but it's just slightly different. So if you want to look that one up, go ahead. I suggest you look up the list I just butchered the fuck out of, so you can see that I wasn't lying about those names. A very notable eon is Barbello. And so I'm going to try to explain Barbello's deal a little bit rather quickly. Barbello is the first entity to arise from God, so she's the first inhabitant of the Pleroma. If you remember, the Pleroma is the Gnostics' name for heaven, so God doesn't birth these eons from his womb or his ass. They are the product of his own thought. Barbello emerges from a specific overflowing of intellect from God, and that's just what some texts say about the emergence of Barbello. Others say that Barbello arose when God stared into the primal water, saw his luminous reflection, which then became a new being. So this motherfucker saw his reflection, and out of that staring contest, a new eon was born, named Barbello. And the name Barbello most likely comes from the Coptic verb berber, meaning to boil over or overflow, which connects to Barbello being the result of God's overflowing thought. So, yeah, I'm gonna get more into the fact that Barbello is seen as the divine mother of Christ, which correlates to the whole Trinity of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. But I will revisit that when we cover the secret book of John specifically and some other texts. So now I want to move on to the fucking Archons, baby. Archon is the Greek word for ruler. In Gnosticism, the Archons, under the rule and subordinates of the Demiurge, Yaldabaoth, are malevolent, sadistic, evil beings that rule over the earth, kind of like how the Watchers or fallen angels look over us. But the Archons are much more involved, creating our feelings, actions, and thoughts. I see them as the evil inspiration of humanity's natural dark side. They are said to have the faces of beasts and bodies of male and female. We'll explore that on a following episode, more down in the series, where I go over the main Archon info-based text called The Reality of the Rulers. That is a whole episode itself, just on that text. So moving quite the fuck along here, we're gonna cover the Pleroma, which is the Greek word for fullness, or what Christians call heaven. This is where the Eons reside, the divine council's realm. So this is heaven. This is where the angels and gods chill at. You know what I'm saying? The details of the Pleroma will all be explained in the following episodes, where I go over specific Gnostic texts that talk about the Pleroma specifically. But in the simplest way to put it, it's the real heaven and where the Trinity and the Eons reside. But also Pleroma is the fullness of Gnosis. So might not actually be a physical place. And I know that's kind of confusing, but Gnosis is about enlightenment and knowledge. That's what Gnosis means. So you could consider Pleroma when you reach your highest enlightenment, your highest level of Gnosis. That could be heaven for you. That could be heaven for all of us if that's what Pleroma is. Or it could be a super chill fucking level of the sky where everything is fucking dipped in gold, and motherfucking Waylon Jennings and fucking Merle Haggard are fucking smoking hella weed and playing good old music, and fucking, Michael Jackson's dancing in the corner. Who else is dead? Shit, I don't know. A lot of people. You know what I'm saying? All the dead people up there that we like are just fucking chilling, vibing. Yeah, dude, so Pleroma, your favorite stand-up comedians that are dead are just telling jokes. It could be what Christians tell kids heaven is. They're like, oh yeah, think about everything you like in life, like chocolate and candy and horses and shit. And that's what heaven is. You know how they tell, that's what they told us when we were kids, that like heaven wasn't like fucking you sitting in front of God while he judges you. It's like all the cool shit in life, like everything you enjoy. So when they told me that in like 3rd grade, I was like, oh, so I'm gonna be up there chilling with Metallica? As you might have figured out, this is going to be a very deep series because there's so many different takes on Gnosticism itself. There's Valentinianism, Valentinianism, the Ophites, the Cainites, and so on. There's like a list. There's like a whole fucking... There's so much shit on Gnosticism. I was not ready when I first got into this shit. But you don't have to worry, because I love this shit. So I'm going to keep digging and reading and revealing this interesting thing we know as Gnosticism as much as I can. I know some people have reached out and said they really enjoyed the first episode, and I hope you enjoyed this one as well. I know I have a problem with starting series and just like doing part 1 and never doing part 2. That's not that I'm never going to do part 2. It's just part 2 has to be deeper than part 1, so it takes me a little longer. And I got ADHD real bad, so I start on one thing and then I start on another thing. I got like 50 different fucking windows open right now of different fucking secret societies and conspiracies. I have like 13 half-written episodes that I could probably finish if I took some Adderall, but I'm not gonna do that because that shit makes me feel bad. Anyway, I'm fucking ranting because I'm going off the monster. Plus I smoked a little CBD. Yeah. Alright, thank you for watching. My mustache is crooked. I need to take a shower. I hope you enjoyed this second installment in the Gnosticism series, and I hope you will be back for the third. Check out those discussions I had the past 3 weeks. I got 2 with Jared Hawley, 2 with Bruce Sevis, 1 with my man Sluggathor on the Hollow Earth. So go and check that shit out. It's real good shit. I like it. I listen to it just because I like to hear my own voice. Yeah.